This week, Netflix wants to add a plus, Uber is pleased that there's a minus, and Apple is working on a foldable iPhone. Those are some of the tech news stories from this week. And it's Friday, May 7th, 2021. Happy Mother's Day weekend to all the moms out there. My name is Kirk Corliss.
And I'm Scott Ertz.
And this episode 89 of the GNC Week in Review podcast, proud partner of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. Thank you so much for streaming. Thank you so much for, let me get the words out. Thank you so much for tuning in for this week's episode. We are streaming live on gncweekly.com/live. So please be sure to say hello in chat or comment. Also be sure to like and subscribe to the GNC WIR channel on YouTube. If you missed the live video, that's okay. You can always catch the replay later. If you are a listener, please be sure to subscribe to the podcast where you can find on the right-hand side column at gncweekly.com, be it Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app. If you have a comment, be it on social media or email, and those links can be found at gncweekly.com/connect. So it's a little bit, really a little bit light tech news this week.
Okay.
Yeah, so
we need one of those every once in a while.
Exactly. Yeah. And also, again, happy Mother's Day to all the moms. So hope you have a great weekend. So we're going to jump in with the tech news.
And it's good that restrictions are starting to loosen up around the country and people can actually interact with their families this weekend.
Yay.
So
well, I don't know.
A lot of states that have been really strict for a while. So it's good to see, people will actually get to spend time with their mothers on Mother's Day
and go out to eat. And I know where I live, there is some restrictions, but both my wife and my mom does not want to go out to any restaurants. And also when both Mother's Day going out to eat, every restaurant you go to is booked and you have to get up early to get a seat.
And then add to it the fact that people haven't been going out for a year and people are going to want to for the first time. It's not going to make anything better.
Oh, right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Not better.
No. And I know for me, I'm not going to be eating outside and, and sitting out in the dirty parking lot and enjoying the exhaust fumes as traffic rolls by. So, so hopefully I'll think of something for this weekend. So again, hope you all moms have a great Mother's Day weekend, no matter how you spend it with your moms. All right, so we're going to dive into the news of the week. First in Netflix. This is coming from a report from Protocol, where Netflix is toying with the idea of rolling out a new service called NPlus. Netflix recently sent out a survey to some users, asking them if they would be interested in accessing new content such as podcasts, user-generated playlists, how-tos, and more. Netflix is describing the NPlus as a, quote, future online space where you can learn more about the best Netflix shows and things related to them. Until now, Netflix has been posting behind-the-scenes interviews, podcasts, and other similar content through YouTube, Instagram, other social media platforms. Along with behind-the-scenes content, however, NPlus will also come with a few other useful features. NPlus users will be able to create lists of their favorite shows on Netflix and share them with their friends. The service may even list music from TV shows and allow users to create custom playlists from it. Another feature that Netflix is considering...
That's the feature. That's the one. Sign me up. That's the one.
That's a good idea. Because I was akin to liking TV theme music.
There was a time when even like TV commercials were putting like it was a music video. They would put in the corner, they'd put what the song was. And that was the best thing that's ever happened. And all of a sudden, I don't know why, they stopped doing that.
Actually, Ford's still running commercials. In their yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. They're running their commercials in that. I think I'm
so glad, because it was such a great idea. Because you hear that song, one of the most famous people had to go searching for it was the Internet Explorer commercial song, because everybody was like, I don't care about the browser, but that song is great. And Spotify said it was one of the most searched songs, and Shazam did too, that it was one of the most searched songs of the year that year. Because it was such a great song, and so weird because the whole rest of his catalog didn't sound anything like that.
Interesting. I didn't know that Microsoft had a song. Or what they use it for? Where'd they get it from? What was the song?
I don't remember the guy's name now. Because I mean, it was how long ago was was IE the thing that they were pushing? Oh, Alex Claire Too Close. I think that's the one.
Okay. I still don't know what that is, what that song is.
Can't play it.
Right, we can't play it. Yeah, so yeah, we don't get we don't want to get taken down. Okay.
But Alex Claire Too Close. For our listeners and viewers, go check it out. It was a great song, and everybody was like, "Wow, what's that song? I need it." But that was before companies were putting it in the corner, and I was so glad when they started doing that. So the idea of integrating that into part of Netflix, because there's some shows like Queer Eye, right, that since the original cast has been famous for having amazing soundtracks.
I have it on my Amazon queue. I have it on my Amazon playlist. So I love it. They have some really good songs on there.
Yeah. And the first 2 seasons they put out a compilation disc of the songs from each episode. But Netflix hasn't been doing that. And it would be nice to have some great way of identifying without having to grab Shazam and hope that you catch it in time, especially if you're on TV. If you're on Netflix, you can rewind and try it again. But to be able to go and say, what song is it? That would be great.
And I think with Ford, I know they had their music, and I'm pretty sure I think during I don't know if it was this Super Bowl, this past Super Bowl, or the year before, they did have a Shazam logo. They integrated. I guess they were doing like a co-branding or marketing ploy to. I don't know if it was a contest or something like that, but they did have Shazam on it and the commercial. And I'm pretty sure it was one of the Super Bowl, not this year. It may have been the year before, but So the other feature that Netflix is considering for NPlus is to allow users to, quote, learn about a planned show and influence its development with feedback before filming has finished. NPlus might also include reviews of popular Netflix shows from users. A Netflix spokesperson told Protocol that the survey was just part of the company's, quote, regular efforts to gauge audience interest on new features, and they didn't have anything more to share for now. So I think what Amazon has done is they have their movies, TVs, music, also podcasts. So I think does it seem that Netflix and other streaming services are going to go into that same play as well?
Yeah, it's not the first time there's been talk about Netflix getting into lower production content, including podcasts. Because obviously, what goes into a podcast is very different than what goes into Stranger Things.
Right.
So what you and I do versus the I don't know, those weekly shows are very different. So there's been talk about them getting into that before. So I expect that any day, honestly. So this is not a huge surprise. Some of it is. I really like the idea. Essentially, they've pitched Patreon, right? With the idea to interact with shows before they're produced and things like that. They've pitched Patreon, which is fine.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
And we did talk about, before we came on air, we did talk about doing something, similar, like a pre-show prior to coming on, and maybe put that, do that as a Patreon. And again, I said that earlier before we came on air, I'm open to it. I mean, It'd be great to like have, but also too, maybe the Netflix, if Netflix decides to do this, which to me, it's great to have the cumbersome, because now I watch all my Hulu. Everything's out of my Hulu playlist. I'm now on Netflix. I'm still watching The Floor Is Lava. No, I'm now getting into my Netflix queue now after the past, I would say, a couple of years. It's been dormant. I am like it's. I had to play catch up on my Hulu queue for like the longest time. Trust me, I'm a devoted TV. When I watch episodes or see these great stuff on TV, I have to put in Hulu. So yeah, I know I'm not binge watching, but I just want to go through each one. But now I'm in Netflix now, so I'm all in. I'm watching right now The Circle, the first season. Great show. It's odd, but it's great.
It's so interesting because I recently finished the second season because it finished on Wednesday, and
no spoilers.
No, somebody wins.
Right.
And they have to face their past, but yeah,
Okay.
Right. That's the premise of the show. Yeah. So obviously there was a lot of time between the first and the second season. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't exactly notice the differences between the first and the second. And then I started to rewatch the first. And I'm like, oh, wow, the graphics in the first season were terrible. Like the alert graphics and stuff were like super mid 2000s instead of 2020. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But then it's fun because you can start recognizing the rooms. Because you're like, oh, you get into season 2. You're like, oh, that was his room from season 1. That's fun.
Okay, good to know when I catch up. But I was going to say they're all in, but my concern is that with all the streaming services, Hulu increased their prices, Disney Plus increased their prices.
In fairness, both owned by Disney.
True. Well, agreed. So my thing is, though, do you think that this is all speculative, that we're dissecting it as we go? So do you think yay or nay that if they do introduce NPlus, I'm in for it, but because I'm, as I'm having so many different streaming services that I have, do you think that that if they add this, do you think they're going to increase their monthly subscription fees?
I think this will be an optional add-on.
Okay. Not as a full all-in service.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you'd keep your regular plan for $9.99 or $10.99 or whatever it is now, and then this would be $3 or whatever. This would be like Hulu with no ads.
Okay.
This would just be a feature that you can add to your subscription. That's my guess.
Okay.
That's what the plus suggests to me in this case, because if you're going with Hulu's naming, Hulu Plus was a paid subscription on top of it's just a guess, but I would say that, like Patreon, it's an add-on on top of the content.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, again, if it's gonna, I'm all in for it. But also too, it'd be good that, but they're also, again, with their play, when they're adding, they're saying that we're going to add podcasts. For us, for our podcast and Plug It's Live, and Geek News Central and TPN. If TPN is on Netflix, that's that'd be awesome.
I will figure out how to be there day one.
There you go. So I'm in.
I was with Amazon Music. I was there day one. I was on Pandora day one, except for F5 Live because they couldn't figure out. I imagine Todd was also missing because they could not figure out what a feed with that many items in it.
For TPN or TPN or Geek News Central?
For Geek News Central, because I know we prune. I know we prune TPN. But I don't think Todd's main feed prunes for new ingestion. So so I bet Pandora panicked on him too.
I bet
he's got way. The thing that really killed me was F5 Live panicked, but special events didn't, and I don't prune special events either.
Okay.
I got way more Plug Hits Live Presents episodes
Mm-hmm.
than I have F5 Live episodes.
Yeah,
So I don't know what the panic was, but yeah, I was on both of those on day one. I will be on Netflix day one too. I don't know what it'll take. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all in. I'm all in if there isn't that, and I think that because Amazon's like the go-to place for, again, TVs, movie shows, podcasts, audiobooks, what have you. So Netflix is like, well, if they're going to do it, why don't we jump in?
Yeah.
And they're adding more and more content, because I just got a notification they're adding more series this coming week and also next month. So to have like the new stuff come in, and you see like a podcast you've never heard before, maybe perhaps something I would enjoy, I'll be more happy to listen to it. Like,
nobody's recommendation engine is as good as Netflix's. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Nobody has a recommendation engine as strong as Netflix.
Yeah.
They are so confident in their recommendation engine that they rolled out play something for everybody this week.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I mean, that is confidence in your algorithm, that I'm going to hit a button and it's going to randomly pick something that you're confident I'm going to enjoy. Ooh, that's hubris.
Right.
that is a level of competence in your algorithm that, as a software engineer, I could never have. I could never have that kind of confidence.
Yeah, they're all the recommendations that I'm seeing, with the exceptions of ones that you mentioned, are spot on.
Yeah, and so
spot on.
If they're able to take your TV and movie recommendations and start recommending podcasts, because I'll tell you, if there's a couple of Circle podcasts out there that they might want to, like, that they do an episode to episode thing, like After Stranger Things, I think was the name of the companion series that they did, where they kind of addressed stuff as the show went on in season 2, maybe. It would make sense, and they'd be able to use your watching habits to know that you wanted to watch that.
And that's really scary, that they know what you like. It's like dead on accurate. It's so like, you can't. You're right. Amazon, you can't even touch that.
Yeah, Amazon's is okay, but I get a lot of stand-up comedy, which is accurate, but not necessarily stand-up comedy from comedians that I would enjoy. Right. Right. So like, their genre is right, but their details are wrong. But Netflix knows to send me an email when Jimmy Carr's got new content. Like, they've got that down. And so, if they could put that to work on external content, I think that would be a good thing. Yeah. For them and for the viewers.
Yeah, definitely.
Hopefully, and we'll definitely
absolutely agree with you on that 110%. So we'll see what happens in the next few weeks, maybe a few months. I don't think they're going to probably put this out, I would say, within the next couple months, maybe 6 months, maybe less than that.
Before the end of the year.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So we'll definitely keep an eye on it. And if anything comes up, we'll definitely keep you apprised on the latest developments. Other news this week: Uber beat estimates on its top line and dramatically improved its net losses in its first quarter, but missed on revenue. Shares initially gained in after-hours trading before dipping more than 4.5%. So here's what Uber did versus the expectations. The loss was 6 cents versus 54% expected. This is a consensus, according to a consensus of analysis surveyed by Refinitiv. Revenue $2.90 billion versus $3.29 billion expected. Overall, Uber's net loss was $108 million. So they feel that this is a major, tremendous improvement from a $968 million loss in its fourth quarter of 2020. But that was largely due to a $1.6 $1.6 billion gain from the sale of its self-driving unit ATG. Uber's operating loss was still high for the quarter at more than $1.5 billion. Uber reaffirmed its expectations to reach profitability on adjusted EBITDA basis by the end of this year. Its adjusted EBITDA loss was $359 million, which improved by $95 million from the prior quarter. So for those who don't know what EBITDA means, it refers to earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. The company said its mobility take rate is expected to decline about 20% in the second quarter. CFO Nelson Chai said on the call with investors, quote, "For the remainder of the year, I will remind you that delivery gross bookings year-over-year comparisons become tougher as we continue to face significant forecasting uncertainty in predicting post-reopening consumer behavior." CEO Dara Khosrowshahi, wow, it's a mouthful and I'm tongue-tied already. CEO Dara Khosrowshahi, if I mispronounce his first name, I apologize, said on a call with investors, quote, "We're finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Uber is starting to fire on all cylinders as more consumers are riding with us again, while continuing to use our expanding delivery offerings." In an update to shareholders, the company said that merchants on Uber Eats exceeded 700,000 in the first quarter. With the additions of Mr. Beast Burger, Rite Aid, and Smoothie King, the company also entered an agreement with GoPuff to offer more convenient store and grocery items starting in June. Ride-hailing trends are starting to improve in some markets, Khosrowshahi said, adding, quote, he's optimistic this trend should accelerate going forward. Uber said it has approximately 3.5 million drivers and couriers on its platform, up 4% quarter over quarter, but still down 22% year over year. So with this pandemic happened in January, early January 2020 to now, things are improving. Uber is more on an uphill battle to gain more revenue.
Now, it's important to note that Uber has never been profitable.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that they came in at 108 million in net loss is actually pretty impressive for this organization, who seems to just write blank checks to I don't know who. I have no idea what their operating expenses could possibly be, other than some software engineers, some sales guys, and the drivers. I don't know what their operating expenses are, but they write a lot of checks.
Mm-hmm.
They spend a lot of money, and it is baffling to me.
Yeah, and also too, they're more, from what I understand, they're more akin to the Uber Eats services than actual drivers. If that's...
Yeah. And they just purchased Postmates. Was that them that bought them?
Yes. Yeah.
So there was expense there, and yet still only 108 million. Right? They spent a lot of money on Postmates, and yet no problem. It's a good sign. It's a good sign. Maybe someday Uber will be profitable, or one day the sky will be pink.
Good analogy.
I don't know if. Do you enjoy that?
I did.
Are you gonna be okay over there?
I'm gonna be all right. I'm all right. It's the way you just delivered it. It just.
In the early days of F5 Live, before it was called that, actually, long before it was called that, one of the topics that one of our co-hosts at the time was obsessed with was Twitter, because they didn't have a business plan. They'd get these more than $1 billion investment rounds, and he's like, why do people keep putting money into this? They don't have a plan to pay you back. What are we doing? And Uber seems to be operating under the same model
Mhm.
of we're not really worried about ever paying our investors back so long as they keep writing us blank checks.
Mhm.
Uh,
Well, maybe.
Twitter, a decade later, still hasn't paid its investors back.
Well, maybe, and it probably goes with Twitter. Maybe I think that when they initially had the idea of not, I'm sorry, let me back up. Maybe with the concept of Uber, they were thinking, why are we paying for a taxi? Why are we waiting for a bus? Why don't we just have our own? We can have have drivers drive their own cars, not worry about you know us paying any fees or gas or
and dealing with because I worked on a project in the taxi space just before Uber,
Mhm.
and there were all these weird there's all these weird rules with taxis. Like drivers rent the cars from the taxi company,
Mhm.
and then basically just keep the money um, because they can't be trusted to actually pay the taxi companies back. So so credit cards in taxis were a possibility on how to make that work, but then
Mhm.
they taxi companies are essentially dispatched Hertz. They're
Right.
because they don't actually make money on the transactions because they don't trust the drivers to pay them.
Mhm.
Um, and they've got these weird zones that you're not allowed in and out of, and so it's all very strange. And we said why not get rid of all the zones and stuff? Let the
Right.
drivers go to the place where they know people are because they
Mhm.
know better than you do where
Right.
people are
Right.
because they're out on the street. They know
Mhm.
that you may know that CES is happening
Mhm.
this week, but
Mhm.
you don't know about uh showstoppers
Mhm.
at at the Win, right?
Yep.
So we're gonna need people at the Win, but you don't know about that. The drivers do.
Right.
And
And I
so this Uber's whole pitch was here are all the problems with taxi companies.
exactly.
And so let's figure out how we can eliminate most, if not all, of those problems. And they did.
Yeah.
They found all the holes and
Mhm.
plugged them and made a service. I mean, when we go to Vegas,
Mhm.
how often are we in a taxi? Maybe once a year, and that's
Right.
only if things have gone really sideways. but but we live the entire week in
Yep.
Uber and Lyft.
Yep. Well,
So
yep, I was in 2018. I used Uber exclusively. 20 last year or 2021. Okay. 2020 I did use Uber, except for one time that I had to get a taxi because of my injury, and
uh,
the Uber. I was waiting outside of the LBCC, and I got waited for a lift. Told him, I followed him. He called me. He says, "Where am I at?" I told him where I was at. He was on the other side of the parking lot, or way on the other side of the convention center. And after about 10 minutes, I'm like, "Screw this!" So
mhm.
so I waited for it. So I got a taxi and surprisingly, the taxi was a pleasant drive. So that was the one time I used a taxi. But also, for those who don't know, going into Vegas, if you're going to Vegas for any vacation, well, not necessarily CES because it's packed, but we always say do not use a taxi because it is extremely expensive.
Mhm. It can be.
Extremely expensive. So I highly recommend. We highly recommend
Unless it's the
when.
busy time of day and you're
Mm-hmm,
going to a hotel from the airport, in
mm-hmm.
which case you can guaranteed get it for 39 or something like that, which
Yep.
when surge prices are in effect,
Exactly.
Vegas ooh, Vegas can get real expensive on Uber.
Hmm. Yeah. So if you're going to Vegas for traveling, for vacation or what have you, whatever event you're celebrating, birthday, what have you.
Have both Uber and Lyft installed.
Hmm. Yep.
Um, if you've never used one of them before, get a discount code.
Yep.
If you need one, message us.
Yep. GNCweekly.com/connect.
I've got discount codes for both.
Same here. Same here.
But yeah, it's they walked into a space that was chaotic, found the chaos, and worked around it, and made a better service usually.
Yeah, but
they can't figure out how to make it profitable.
And that goes back to the question how they make money. But I mean, I don't know who there's any investors in it. I haven't seen anything recently, or there's any major investors in Uber.
Every major investor's got money in Uber.
Okay,
because everybody's just like Twitter. Everybody's hoping that one day they'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much potential. The cab companies are so profitable,
right?
And yet Uber can't figure out how to do the same thing.
Yeah.
But of course, Uber is fighting all these legal battles, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got California that's trying to put them out of business, and now the federal government's trying to enforce the same thing that almost screwed California up. Mm-hmm. And so, they're constantly fighting these legal battles that don't make it less expensive to operate.
Yeah.
So,
well, I would love to. I'm not going to invest if it's going up. But if you see the writings on the wall, that's not making money, then you need to change up your investments. All right. Other news this week. Now there's been a lot of rumors about a foldable iPhone, but there's a new one that has a little more weight to it. Ming Cho, Apple analyst Ming Cho told investors that Apple plans to launch an 8-inch foldable iPhone by 2023. These are from documents that were seen by Engadget and an article from Mac Rumors. The report is based on a quote industry survey. Predicts that Apple plans to sell 15 to 20 million units in 2023. Who said he already revealed the possibility of a folding iPhone in March, but his latest report has some more detail on suppliers. It predicts that QHD plus flexible OLED will be supplied by Samsung Display, while the DDI display controller will come from Samsung Foundry. It also notes that Apple will use silver nanowire touch tech supplied by TPK, quote, because of its several advantages over Samsung's Y-Octa technology. And I asked this question before, and I know there's the diehard Apple fanboys are going to get this, but for the life of me, what is the need for a foldable phone? Why? You have Samsung and that's it, unless I'm missing another one.
It depends on what we're talking about, a foldable phone, because Microsoft's got the Surface Duo.
Right.
There's the one from Huawei that's more like the Samsung, and there was at least one other that was bouncing around. Mm-hmm. I don't particularly like the way the screens look and work on the single screen foldables. Mm. Maybe someday they'll get it right, but that gap down the middle, no, you can tell it's a different screen. It's a very different technology, and it looks very different. It makes it look like a non-premium device. And so if you're spending, look at Samsung, if you're spending $1,800 on a phone, it better look and feel premium. And that does not. So that might be why Apple's been holding off. They might also have been holding off to see if there was actually demand.
But isn't there though demand for a foldable? A foldable phone, period. I mean, again, I know the Apple fanboys, and again, for those that want to get it, I'm happy for you, but I just don't see the consumer need overall. I have not seen in the wild. I have not seen in the wild people with foldable phones, with the exception of a very small fraction of a couple people, you for instance, maybe, but as far as like as overall, I have seen people with iPhones, I've seen people with Samsung Galaxy phones, I've seen
the S series,
yeah. but not like in many people. There's I see a need, or from anyone, majority of the people in this country, in the United States. I mean, I imagine overseas is different, but to see there's a high need for something that has a lot of flaws. Case in point, the screen. Case in point, the quote unquote the flexibility of the devices. I just don't,
because we all remember the first Samsung Galaxy Fold.
Yep.
Who was it? Engadget.
It was Engadget.
Broke their screen in the first week.
No, I think it was either Engadget or The Verge reported it. One of them broke the story first. Somebody, yeah. And
it fell apart real fast.
Yep.
Which is part of the reason why I'm not a big fan of that particular technology, and why I went with the Duo, is because it knows what it is. Right? It's not trying to be tricky and make you think there's a full screen in the middle. There's not. It's a different screen. It's very different. It's very sad. You will hate it. Because I do. I understand the idea of being able to put a tablet in your pocket. That concept is theoretically solid, but the technology is not.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. Because 8-inch is an iPad mini, right? That you can then put in your pocket without wearing Jinko jeans. It's an attractive premise. But does it work out that way in reality? I don't know. I kind of like the side-by-side snap personally. But it all around it's a niche product. It is not intended to be an everyday product. This is a niche product. And that's okay, because sometimes you need weird products. And Apple's never been afraid. They've never shied away from the weird. Look at the Newton.
Right.
Stupid product. And so,
but for his report saying that they plan to sell 15 to 20 million units in 2023.
They also thought that they were going to sell a lot of the iPhone minis.
Right. That was a real
miscalculation. Let's
exactly.
Be nice. It was a miscalculation.
Right. But also too I don't think this is like a really this is going to be, I think that with this foldable phone, or be it Samsung, whomever, it's just going to be a fad. To be honest, it's not going to be
TVs.
Like. There you go. There you go.
It's Abram and I said it. We made that exact comparison when they first started coming about. We said 3D TVs. That's what these are. These are our modern 3D TVs. They'll be popular for a couple of years, and then we'll never hear about them again. At least this time, Nintendo got ahead of the trend with the 3DS. They took the past trend and the future trend and put them in one product, and was able to move past it all in one fell swoop.
And look how well they're selling too.
Well, not those. Those are discontinued.
Oh, okay.
But they're still the best-selling console of all time.
Okay, I was thinking that for whatever reason, I was thinking of the Switch for whatever reason. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay. Yeah. So this is something that's going to have to keep in. Again, we're going to keep a close eye on that too. All right. Next up, shipments of Chromebooks reached 12 million globally in the first 3 months of 2021. This is coming from an analyst, Canalys, which pegged the year-on-year growth at a stratospheric 275%. The vendor with the largest total number of sales was HP,
of course.
I
would expect nothing less,
right? With 4.36 million units, up 630% 633.7% year over year. HP said Chromebook sales had quadrupled in its Q1 ended January 31st to account for $1.69 billion or 16% of its PC business revenues. HP Enrique Loris sounded like the company could have sold more if only those pesky component shortages had been a deterring factor, saying on a Q1 conference call, quote, it had, quote, increased inventory and was, quote, changing the connections that we have with certain component providers. Shortage of components, specifically ICs, display panels, and CPUs, have been a feature of tech industry since the pandemic forced demand for PCs through the roof. As a relatively low margin piece of hardware, Chromebook supply cannot match customer orders. Trailing HP was Lenovo, which grew its shipments to 3.1 million from a base of 760,000 a year earlier. Third place, Acer shipped 1.428 million units to distributors and retailers in a quarter.
That is a steep drop off right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just to go from high to low.
3.1, 1.4.
Right.
Steep drop off.
Right.
HP and Lenovo are owning this space, is what that means.
Up from 514,000. The quarter saw the emergence of Samsung as a competitor player in the Chromebook space, growing from 51,000 in Q1 2020 to 1.2 million. So there's a bump up with Samsung. During 2020, Samsung expanded its Chromebook lineup with new models and pushed into new territories. At the tail end of the year, Samsung launched its basic Chromebook 4 and 4 Plus machines in the UK, following their 2019 launch in the US and South Korea. The company also released a flood of more expensive Chromebooks, including the Galaxy model. The successor to this machine, introduced earlier this year, is also the first Chrome OS device to come with a QLED display. Brian Lynch, Canalys research analyst, said the results confirm the transformation of Chromebooks into a mainstream computing product, which is true because ever since the pandemic started and everyone go back to school and working from home, kids at home, that's been the tool to have for internet usage, not necessarily PC usage or Mac usage, but internet usage nonetheless.
I think those two statements don't mean the same. I agree with you 100%. I believe that especially for education, which almost certainly is where 100% of this growth comes from, it has become an essential part of the day, but I don't think that makes it a mainstream computing product.
No, you're right.
I think his analysis is incorrect. I don't think that makes it a mainstream computing product.
No.
I think it was an inexpensive solution to an unexpected and immediate problem.
Right, because I know my daughter uses my Chromebook when she was in school, and and again, I don't think that like you and I, because we have our own, computers. So as far as the mainstream, I think maybe it's kind of, the statement's kind of skewed. I think maybe speculating again, dissecting it, maybe it's possibly leaning towards mainstream computer product for education use and not overall use. If that makes sense.
That still makes it a niche product.
Right. Right.
Being heavily focused in one industry doesn't make it mainstream. It's literally the opposite.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay. Well, I guess
it is a very successful niche product, which is fine. Like we were just talking about with foldable phones.
Right.
If you can find or create a market, great. Doesn't have to be everybody. It doesn't have to be everything to everybody. That's fine. Apple has done in the old days. Apple did very well not trying to be everything to everybody. And the more they try, the more they get themselves in trouble. So sometimes, being a boutique vendor, it's fine. Being a boutique product line, it's fine. And I think that's what Chromebooks are. I think they are a very successful boutique product.
Okay.
Which is fine. I mean, you can get an HP Chromebook for like $129.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a school district looking for an inexpensive entry into computing for your schools, for your students, $129 a device is a very attractive thing, because you're not going to get. I mean, there's those blue HP. I don't remember. They were like candy colored laptops. I don't remember what they were called. That were $169, running Windows 10 Home. They were everywhere at CES a couple of years ago. On the escalator to the monorail, it was all branded with them. But still, if you're buying 10 of them, okay, that $40 may not make a huge difference. If you're buying 10,000 of them, that $40 device suddenly becomes very important. And so it makes sense, but you're not going to see them in business all that much.
Right. That's what I mean. That's what I meant.
You're not. And for regular consumer use, people are still, it's like 70, 20, 10 or something like that for Windows, Mac, and Chrome. But that's fine. That's not who they're trying to target. They're doing really well where they want to be. So good on them. But that still doesn't make it a mainstream computing product.
Right. No, I agree. That's what I think. That's where I'm thinking as far as a product, not mainstream, but it's for general use, again, for education. Yeah. And people don't, again, you and I working from home, we all have our own computers. So I don't think you can actually take, if you're using for your employer, you're not going to necessarily they're not going to ask you for a Chromebook, because you can't really do, you can do some things you can do like Google Sheets and Google Docs and what have you. But when it comes to
anything Android, so you can get a full Office too.
Right. Right. You're right. I think they introduced that. Did they introduce that last week? I believe. Yeah. But as far as computing power is concerned, there's no way. Yeah. You really don't. There's no way you cannot do actual labor intensive work.
They're netbooks.
Exactly.
They're netbooks, and we all remember how well those worked. But they're on a scaled down operating system.
Yeah.
Which, Microsoft did try to create a scaled down Windows 7 Starter Edition for netbooks, but this is designed to be lightweight from the beginning. So it's a good space.
Yeah, and for this, and you're right, for this analyst, this analyst would say it's a mainstream computer product. It's not. I would agree with you on that. I think it's more
a successful boutique product.
Right. It's more mainstream. It's more of a mainstream.
It owns a market.
Exactly.
It owns education, and that's good on them.
That's where exactly. That's I think. So he needs to work on his analysis a little better. All right. Speaking of Chrome, and the other, speaking of Chrome, in a sense, Google on Wednesday says offering employees more options as the company begins to welcome workers back into the offices, including some employees the ability to work from home permanently. In December, CEO Sundar Pichai announced a plan for a hybrid work model with employees typically coming into the office 3 days a week. On Wednesday, Pichai told employees in a memo that they expect 20% of the company to permanently work remotely. The company said another 20% of employees could work from a Google office other than their normally assigned one if they wanted to. The other 40% will be working from their normal office campus 2 days a week. Google was one of the first big companies to let its massive employee base work from home when the coronavirus pandemic took hold. The company won't require employees to return to offices in any capacity until September of this year. Google last week showed off new features as planned for its offices in a post-pandemic work environment. They include inflatable balloon walls. I have no idea what that is. Standing desks that conform to the preferences of individual workers with a swipe of employee badge, and outdoor camp-style workspaces. I have no idea what inflatable balloon walls are, and I'm just picturing in my head what that look like.
I believe it would look very similar to a 1950s insane asylum.
Straight jackets not included.
Right. That has to come out of your $1,000 work from home budget.
Yeah. For me, I'm
standing desks that conform to the preferences of individual workers with the swipe of an employee badge.
Mhm.
That's the one that got me.
Yeah.
Inflatable balloon walls. I've seen pictures of Google's offices. I don't try to understand the weird things that they do. But
Yeah.
does that mean that you can basically walk up to any desk, swipe your thing, and the desk will move to the height that you like it at? What if I don't want to stand? What if I want to sit?
I want to sit.
And what if I always want to sit at the same place?
Right.
Because I do, because I set up a fairly big space.
Mm-hmm. But what else also too, if you want to sit and you want to scoot around with the chairs and want to like roll from one side to the other.
Very strange. Outdoor camp style workspaces.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to lie. I've been working outside a little bit lately.
Mm-hmm.
Other than the fact that the Surface Book gets real hot. The legs were bright red the other day. Other than that, literally searing my legs, but it wasn't great. But other than that, I've enjoyed it. My regular work laptop is that soft touch, so that's not as big of a deal because it's not metal. It doesn't turn into a stove. So I've been enjoying working outside lately, and I kind of want to have a little outside workspace. Mm-hmm. So I get that one. I'm on board.
Well, I'm working from home still. Our company is month to month, and first we were supposed to work at the end of last month, and now they're saying of this month. And also, I've been hearing people talk about they're going to look at it each month. Me personally, I wouldn't mind working outside, from time to time. But of course, the customers I deal with and the other representatives I deal with, if I hear, if I need to get loud, my neighbors across the street would be like, of course, there's always weird noises coming outside anyway. So what the hell?
Fair enough.
But I think, with also too, working from home has some pluses and minuses, but
sure.
But one thing that's concerning is that I think, and a lot of people have said this to me privately, is that a lot of these companies, don't want to, because when they have these buildings, and I imagine Google as well, they have the cost. There's cost of the rent, the electric, the heating, the HVAC, and a lot of companies, including mine, and a lot of people have told me privately, that who have said that they feel that it's more cheaper keep employees at home, where they don't have to pay for it, because my company doesn't pay for my internet nor my electric, which I balked about that because I'm spending, I'm 50 up and 50 down, and they're using my internet. It doesn't draw as power. Granted, it's only for like 8 hours a day, and that was a horn for those speaking of outside, because my windows are open.
Thank goodness. It sounded like some sort of a success noise.
Speaking of weird noise.
I wonder, you just got an achievement.
Right. I'll talk about that later, because I remember I saw something a second ago. So it's like, so my whole thing is, I agree. I shouldn't and also too, the insurance as well, because when you're in a company, if God forbid something happens, the company has insurance. So God forbid I happen to step outside, or I go into my kitchen and get something to drink and I slip and fall. Well, actually, scratch that, because CES, I was TD.
You're going to do that anyway.
Right. But I'm making sure I'm covered. I'm protected up and down this January. I kid you not, I'm going to be like making sure that I'm going to have protection in some shape or form, or use that one
Robot
thing.
legs.
Right. But in seriousness, this company is, all these companies don't have to pay for anything practically. They're literally getting away, saving like tons of money, but at what cost? And that's where I question a lot of these companies. I mean, it's great that they're going to allow work from home, and there's people that like working from home. That's great. I mean, I'm not, please believe me, please. I mean, I'm not putting my saying that, each person is different. If there's some people who work from home, God bless you.
And
that's
different
great.
environments are different.
Exactly, as well. You're absolutely right. But I just question, like,
Abram and I have dedicated workspace.
Mm-hmm.
So our working from home is very different than, some of our colleagues who are working on kitchen tables for a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a very different experience. It's one of the reasons why Google was one of the companies that was given, $1,000 allowances to buy work from home equipment, because they were saving a bunch of money not having employees in the office. They didn't have to have the HVAC up all the way. There were all kinds of things they didn't have to run. So they took that money and they literally gave it back to the employees to make their spaces better. But not everybody has done that, which of course is unfortunate. But if you've got that dedicated space, it's one thing.
Right.
If you're trying to work within your regular home, it's very different because Abram and I, at the beginning of work from home, we did a segment on things that you need. And one of the things was to carve out space. Because otherwise you never feel like your work day's over.
Right.
You never feel like you're at work.
Right.
It is this weird, combination of there's no beginning or end to your work day.
Right.
And that makes everything fuzzy. So
yeah. My workspace, I don't really have, my workspace is in my dining room. And I was concerned when I was working, I initially thought I'm not going to have the space, until there was a little bit of, just deal with it, which I did, but it's over a year now. And it's like, there's like, I joke about it. I'm like in this little bubble, and, and I'm upstairs in my bedroom, which I have a nice little space, which is great, and I love it. It's, it's my home, it's my home away from home, when we record the podcast, and also Geek News Central when I'm, executive producer, but it's like I'm able to like enjoy it. But it's like when you're in your own home, it's like working. It's like, when you leave from work, you're in a different place, and also you're right, also a different totally work environment. But I just question some of these companies thinking, why they choose to, they want to make money, and I get that, and profits and what have you, but I think sometimes I think at what cost?
Yeah, I think the companies that are leaning into the work from home thing, because I've seen over the last couple of weeks on LinkedIn, some of the companies that I'm connected with are giving up their offices, but they're taking those savings and they're giving them back to the employees. They're offering to pay for internet. They're all, things like, let's get you a home office set up, like what Google did early on. But the companies that aren't doing that are unfortunate.
Yeah.
If you're gonna lean into it, you really need to. You can't go halfway.
Yep.
It's not good for your employees.
Yeah, and we'd love to like to hear from everyone out there listening and watching. If you're working from home, I'd like to know your thoughts. We'd like to know your thoughts about it. How long you've been working from home. You don't have to say, if you don't want to give your name or your company name, business name, that's fine. We're not gonna.
We encourage you not to.
Right. We'll want to be anonymous. That's fine. Just let us know via gncweekly.com/connect on Facebook, Gmail, or Twitter. Or if you want to DM one of us privately and anonymously, you can definitely do that as well. All right, other news in this week. Sprint and AT&T and others have always had enticing promotions to get new customers, and Dish Boost Mobile is one of them. Is another one of them. Excuse me. It's promising to connect new subscribers to K Health. Among other perks, the online service allows you to chat with a doctor using an AI component. It can also suggest next steps when you're showing specific symptoms. Boost Unlimited Plus plan will come with free access to K Health's primary care subscription, which typically costs $9 per month starting this summer. Those on one of the carrier other plans will have the option to add a service for $8 per month or $1 less than you would pay for it usually. And if I am not, and this is a great deal, and to get on Boost Mobile, but I'm not really keen on on chatting with a doctor via this, and I'm questioning this a little bit.
Telehealth has become a big business. We've seen it kind of grow during the last couple of CESs. I am still hesitant on it, for sure. But the idea of AI powered symptom checking isn't new. That's WebMD.
Right. I was just going to say that. Yep.
But instead of going through a checklist, this is conversational style. So for a lot of people, it would be easier, right? It can ask you questions and you can answer yes or no, as opposed to going through, a checklist and that weird process that's not great for everybody. So there's certainly parts of it that make sense. If you're treating it like WebMD, I get you, which they absolutely have, but that's for free. The symptom checker process is free. They've got health guides for free. They've got popular treatments for common problems, but then they've got the chat with a doctor and things like that. My aunt has done telehealth, telemedicine stuff, because her husband is dealing with dementia and she's trying to take care of him, and getting out of the house is not always an option. So this could be a great option for a lot of people, and for $9 a month to be able to talk to a doctor, it's also a great solution for people who are limited on budget.
But you're also providing Boost Mobile with HIPAA,
Not to Boost Mobile. This is akin to getting Netflix for free with T-Mobile, or getting Spotify for free because you're an Xbox Game Pass subscriber. Okay. This is very similar to that. There's no direct connection except that there's a coupon.
Okay.
This is T-Mobile Tuesdays. There we go. This is T-Mobile Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Here's a free year of MLB TV.
Right.
That's all this is. So there's a partnership between them. The high-end plans are getting it for free. The lower-end plans are getting a discount on the thing. But it's not, you're not sharing information with Dish Network.
That's what I was, okay.
Yeah, you're sharing it with a medical organization who specializes in medical data.
Okay.
So,
all right, because I was concerned because when I was looking at it and I was questioning it a little bit, and I'm like, I don't know.
No, there'd be no way that they could set that up.
Okay, good. Okay, my concerns were alleviated. Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm still super medical privacy focused. My day job has a thing where if you do an annual physical or something, they'll put money into a health account, or I don't know.
Mine too.
It doesn't matter because the health insurance is self-funded, which means that the physical information would go to the company. Nope.
Yep. That's where my company does exactly the same thing.
I'll let you keep your money. I'm going to keep my information.
Right.
I'm not interested in my employer having my physical results every year. No thanks.
Right. Not to mention all the other information about you that they know already. So
yeah, not interested.
okay,
But
good.
I'm getting there on these telehealth platforms, and there's certainly places where it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So this is for you. Definitely check it out. Next up, Google on Wednesday announced the launch of a new entertainment hub for Android tablets called Entertainment Space, modeled on its KidSpace app suite. The hub will include apps for video streaming, games, and books. Google says it's seen over 30% more people starting using Android tablets compared to the prior year. Google said in a press release on Wednesday, quote, once you sign into your subscription apps, Entertainment Space will show you your content in one place and tailored for you. And if you want to share a tablet, everyone in the family can have their own personalized profile. Entertainment Space apps will be divided by tab sections labeled Watch, Games, and Read, include YouTube, Google TV, Twitch, Hulu, Google Play Books, Google Play Games, and others. Select games will be available to play without download, and select audiobooks will be available in the Read tab. Entertainment Space will be available starting this month, first on Walmart-owned tablets. It's own, right? Okay. It's own or on? It's own.
Own.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. It's
Oh.
own. Okay. Let me make sure because last time I mispronounced it.
I apologize. I'm doing some research on this topic.
Oh, good. Okay.
So I got a little distracted.
Okay. The hub will then be rolled out globally on all new and some existing Android tablets from Lenovo, Sharp, and other specified manufacturers. So,
if this sounds identical to Google TV, you're right. Mm-hmm. It is. It is almost exactly Google TV with a different name on it. Just so everybody knows.
Okay.
It is literally built on the Google TV application framework. Because I'm listening to this going, they just released Google TV, which is all of the things you've just said. So what's the difference? Oh, there isn't one, just the name.
Yeah.
And this is designed for a slightly smaller screen for touch versus TV. But it's literally the same platform. So no, you're not going crazy. Google TV and Entertainment Space are the same thing.
Okay.
Because as you were talking, I'm like, what are we doing? Did I take a nap? I know I took a nap earlier. How long was I asleep? I swear to God, we just talked about this a month ago, 6 weeks ago, when the new Chromecast devices came out.
Right.
Chromecast with Google TV. Yeah. And then all the Android TVs got an update and replaced their UI with a thing called Google TV.
From Android TV.
And now there's this thing called Entertainment Space. It sounds exactly the same. Oh, it is. Great. Fine. Thank you, 9 to 5 Google, for proving to me that I'm not insane.
Right.
And,
not insane.
And that listening to that was like a fever dream of an identical conversation we just had.
And this is probably akin to Amazon, because Amazon has exactly the same thing on their tablets.
Yeah, but it's not the same company releasing two different products with different names that do the same thing within weeks of each other.
Yeah.
Which, in fairness, is Google's MO. Google does this crap all the time. They've got Android and Chrome OS and then Magenta. And then and how the hell many communication platforms do they have? Right. On any given day, who knows? Because tomorrow they're going to discontinue another one, right? And then by Thursday, there'll be another one in its place. Don't worry. So duplicating efforts is nothing new for them. But the fact that it's all built on top of each other at least makes me feel a little better. And
something tells me they're going to have this on Killed. I don't know if you already see the Twitter account or the website, Killed by Google. Watch this one be next up on the list.
We used to keep track of that, but then that turned into a full-time job, so we just dropped it.
Well, I have I keep an eye on our Twitter account, and it's fascinating to see what happened. Well, he's been talking. Well, the guy that runs it is also lamenting on other things as well, but just to see the website and see things added over the past several months to several years about what's been dropped it's been fascinating. All the products they've been having or had. Speaking of TVs, Toshiba has introduced a new option to choose from if you're looking to buy a new Fire TV. They have launched a lineup of smart TVs with built-in Fire TV experience that will be available in 5 screen sizes. The 43-inch and the 50-inch variants are already listed on Amazon and Best Buy for $350 and $470 respectively, though they won't be in stock until May 13th, which is a week from yesterday at the earliest. The company doesn't have a release for them yet. Toshiba will also sell 55, 65, and 75-inch version of TVs in the future. The new
75 is a big boy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The new Smart Fire TVs have thinner bezels than Toshiba's previous model, with an extra HDMI and USB ports. They have a 4K resolution powered by the company's Resga engine, and they support Dolby Vision HDR10. Since they run Amazon Fire OS, they have the features you expect from a Fire TV, including an ability to view video feeds from compatible video doorbell or cameras on top of where you're watching the screen. You can use voice commands to quickly change picture and sound settings as well. For instance, you can say, Alexa, I'm making sure my mic's not coming off, set picture mode to movie, or Alexa, set bass to 3. The voice remote the voice remote the TVs come with will also give you the ability to control the power and volume of compatible audio, video receivers, and soundbars. According to AFTV News, the devices will ship with the older Fire TV interface, but they're getting the redesigned UI this summer. When it rolls out to older models, the refreshed UI comes with a new look and introduces user profiles, so up to 6 members of her household can customize their experiences. And speaking of profiles, I got my wife is on Amazon account, so so this is great. So I can have my own, she can have hers, and everybody wins.
It's about time, because basically everybody else already supports profiles.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird that it's taken this long for Fire TV to support it.
Mm-hmm.
Whatevs.
Yeah. All right, and finally this week, and we talked reported last week about Verizon selling Yahoo and AOL for $5,
which was confirmed this week
on Monday. Yep, and they sold, I believe it was $5 billion, which I thought would be a lot less. So it's interesting that AOL people are still using AOL's dial-up service, which is again fascinating to me. According to CNBC, the number of people who still uses AOL's dial-up service is, quote, in the low thousands. This is from the contrast to 2.1 million people use the service in 2015. AOL is continuing to make good money from a subscription called AOL Advantage, which offers, quote, critical products for computer security, identity theft protection, premium technical support, and more. AOL Advantage reportedly has 1.5 million customers, each paying either $9.99 or $14.99 per month, which is showing us a hefty and relatively passive income stream for the company. So it's amazing in this day and age, people are on dial-up, but B, still on AOL service when there's plenty of providers out there. Not to mention, if you're looking for computer security, as from AOL's description about security theft or identity theft protection and tech support, what have you. There's plenty of other services out there that are cheap, for one.
Mm-hmm.
Second, there's a lot of the computers Microsoft has, there's features that cost nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just fascinated that people are going to still purchase these things when It's
from AOL, like
exactly
literally from the brand that makes you think that sounds scammy.
right.
So easy to use. No wonder it's number one. That sounds like an infomercial. That's not the tagline of a company who's built on trust.
Right.
So the idea that people would be spending money, monthly money, on security products from AOL, the sister company to Yahoo, the epitome of the hack.
Right.
Because everybody on the planet had their information stolen from Yahoo.
Yep.
3.1 billion accounts or something like that. If you have electricity, Yahoo gave up your info. That's so, and AOL's the sister company, not the company I'd go to for security products.
Agreed.
I mean, there's the obvious, though, not the ones I go to. I don't personally. Our show used to have a don't support Norton, or McAfee, right? Who's had 18 owners over the last seems like 6 hours. Every time you turn around, McAfee's got a new owner. And I think the founder went to prison or something. Doesn't matter. My recommendation, and they've come on as a partner for the show recently, Malwarebytes. I've always liked them. But like you said, the stuff that's built into Windows is pretty strong on its own.
Yeah.
For viruses and stuff. I mean, it's not going to catch hardcore Trojans and cryptojackers and stuff like that, which is the reason. Cryptojackers are the reason why I use Malwarebytes. But AOL?
Yep.
Who hears that name and goes, security?
Yeah, so definitely best advice. If you're on dial-up right now, you don't have to have to use AOL. There's companies out there that you can get service, dial-up service again, which this fathers me in 2021 that there's better. We should do better on getting broadband to all. But there's companies that you can go reach out to search for dial-up service. Don't go with AOL, please. I mean, I had AOL many years ago. I use those services. I just have the email for spam, but I have a collection. I'm pretty sure a lot of people out there watching and listening has the those discs. But definitely do some research. Definitely look into.
Have one in here.
Right. I'm pretty sure I have a few. I think I had about a whole boatload that can make coasters.
Yes, exactly. There's probably one in this drawer. There might be one in the one over there.
Yep.
And that's why I have them. They also make great frisbees. You got to be careful if you hit somebody with it. They'll bleed.
Right. So please be careful. So definitely keep an eye out, for other services are available, and just skip AOL because they're going fast. All right. With that is the tech news for this week for Friday, May 5th, 2020. Excuse me, May 7th. Wrong date. Long week. Sorry, May 7th. Thank you so much for tuning in for this week's episode. Show notes from this episode can be found at gncweekly.com. Also, be sure to check out the latest tech news and commentary from geeknewscentral.com. Also, be sure to tune in Mondays and Thursday evenings at geeknewscentral.com/live for the Geek News Central podcast. And then be sure to watch and tune in at gncweekly.com/live Friday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern. So please be sure to like and subscribe to the GNC WIR channel on YouTube. Also, make sure to click the bell and always select always for notifications so you will not miss the next episode. Also, be sure to subscribe, share this Also, be sure to share this episode to people that you know. They can check out this podcast also. Also, be sure to subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast app. And be sure to tune in to F5 Refreshing Technology with Scott and Abram Pilch Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern Time at f5live.tv/join us, or be sure to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast app. You have a comment on this week's episode, we love to hear them. Head on over to gncweekly.com/connect and connect via email, Twitter, or Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm at Kirk Corliss. Scott is on Twitter, TTMABO. Till the next episode of GNC Week in Review. So long.
Ciao.